Thanks, Tom. Really excited to be here, guys. And the first topic I wanted to start with was one that I'm pretty sure most people in the room will be familiar with. Fear. I'm absolutely petrified right now, and for the last week and a bit, I've had this dark cloud, this fear, follow me everywhere I go. The fear of standing up here today. Am I good enough? Can I do it? What have I got myself into? We all have fear. And my first piece of advice today is if you make a promise to yourself, to challenge yourself, when fear presents itself, to tackle it head on and wrestle that fear and use it to push you from behind rather than to stand in front of you. So many times in my career I've felt fear, but my biggest successes have come from tackling that fear head on and coming out the other end a changed person. So a quick 2 seconds on me. In my first 12 months in sales, I wrote $400,000 in fees from 53 sales, and I was a sales assistant for 18 months prior to that. Last financial year, I wrote $1.296 million in fees, excluding GST, from 144 sales, with an average sale price of $450,000. So I have to do a lot of transactions to write decent fees, and my systems and processes have to be absolutely on point to make sure we not only deal with the volume, but to make sure the client experience is outstanding. What I wanted to talk about today was 2 defining moments in my career where I stepped outside of my comfort zone and I had a crack, and hopefully it inspires you to do the same thing. The first one was when I put on my first assistant, and the second one was when I added 2 more members to my team. And I've got my top 5 tips for each of these 2 phases. A question I'm always asked is, when's the right time to put on your first PA? And I'm sure there's some people in the room right now that are thinking this question as well. So what I find is the best time to put on your first PA is when you just start to get a bit of momentum. You only have so much energy. Momentum can take 6, 12, 18 months to build, and it can be lost in a short few months if you burn out and drop the ball. So in my opinion, as soon as you start doing a couple of sales a month consistently, 20 to 30 sales a year, and your database is at about 500 clean, good quality bits of data, I believe now's the time to act. If you want to double the amount of business you do, you're going to need double the amount of time, and a personal assistant can add an extra 50 hours of capacity to every single week. It's almost impossible not to write more fees. Lead by example. So often I see in the industry, salespeople put on a PA, they put their feet up on the desk, they slack off, they stop doing the dollar productive tasks, they let the PA do all the legwork. What happens is their momentum starts to die down, the PA loses respect for them, and their business goes backwards. You need to stay hungry when you put on a PA. You're now responsible for someone's career, and they're relying on you to keep the team going to make sure they're successful, and you need to have respect for that. If you have respect for your team members, they'll have respect for you, and you'll get a lot more out of them. I'm always the first into the office, and I'm always the last to leave, and I'm always in the trenches doing everything I can to earn their respect. Secret is prospecting. So often I see agents, they put on a PA, they get the PA to do the prospecting, they stop doing the dollar productive tasks in their business, and the listings stop coming in the door, and they blame the PA. When I put on my first PA, the whole purpose of it was to free me up from the administration tasks so I can do what I do best, and that's sit on the phone, build relationships with more people, and drive more listings into my business. So you've got to stay on the phone, and you've got to be responsible for the amount of listings coming into that team. Clear job roles equals accountability. You need to know exactly what you are supposed to do and exactly what your PA is supposed to do. If you've got clear job descriptions, then you can hold each other accountable. In this stage, 1 + 1 should equal 3, not 1 + 1 equals 1.5. So when I was a 2-person team, this is what my team looked like. I did the bulk of the prospecting, every single appraisal, I did the vendor management, I did the sale campaign with obviously some assistance from my PA, I did all the negotiation. When I put on my first PA, what I got Beck to do was what I call listed to on the market. So I'd literally sign up an agency agreement, I'd hand the agency agreement over, Beck would call the vendor, introduce herself, and then communicate with the vendor every single day until that property was on the market. So she would organise the photo shoot, the floor plan, the video shoot, send the stylist out to do a consultation on the property. She'd coordinate tradespeople if we're getting work done to the property to improve the sale value. She'd do every single task. So all I had to do was just show up at the first open for inspection. Once I exchange contracts on that property, I'd hand the contract across to Beck, and then what she'd do is she'd chase up all the special conditions, make sure the building inspection's done, the pest inspection, the valuation, until that property's unconditional. Once that property was sold and unconditional, she'd communicate with the vendor and the buyer from sold through to settlement to make sure the customer experience was absolutely outstanding. She also does all the appraisal research and did all the general administration, managed the emails, pickups, drop-offs, all those sort of things, so I could stick to doing the dollar productive tasks that you can see on the left of the screen there. Big data and how to structure it. I don't have the luxury of being in a marketplace where they're high sale values. So I have to do a lot of transactions. And for me, real estate's a mathematical equation. I know from my 2,500 database, 8% of them will come to the market in any given year. That's 200 opportunities. If I'm good enough to get in the door of 80% of them, then that'll give me 160 listing opportunities a year. If I'm good enough to convert 70%, then that's going to provide 110 listings into my business every single year, and that's what I call consistent business. You're still going to get some lucky business on top of that, but that's going to provide 100 listings into my business every single year. So how do I work my database? I've got 2,500 contacts, and every single contact is ticked as a property owner in the database. And that's my first category, is property owner. They get a quarterly call from my team, and the whole purpose of that call is to maintain the relationship. But what we're looking for is we're looking for changes in behaviour. So when we're speaking to them, if they're engaging in that phone call and they're asking questions, then we're going to say, look, last time we spoke to you, you're quite content where you are, and you're not looking at making a move in the near future. Just wondering if things have changed or progressed. If they say yes, we're now thinking of doing something in 6 to 12 months' time, what I'll do is I'll put them on my pipeline. And my pipeline has around 250 contacts, and they're people that are going to sell in the next 3 to 12 to 18 months. They get a monthly call, and the whole purpose of that monthly call is to keep top of mind, because their motivation can increase, and they could come on the market at any given time if they find a property to buy. So what are we calling them about? We're calling them about insights in the market. We're calling them about the median house prices, average days on market. But most importantly, we're calling about sales results that are relevant to them and their property. Can we invite them to an open for inspection? Can we let them know of a property that's sold around the corner from them? If their motivation increases, I'm going to put them on what I call my 2-month list. And that's usually anywhere from 25 to 50 contacts that are going to list their house for sale in the next 2 months. They get a weekly call. My whole purpose of that call is to get back face-to-face and win that business. What I'm calling them about is I'm providing service, I'm providing advice. So can I send my stylist out to give them a consultation on how to prepare their home for sale? Can I organise a skip out to the property so that they can help prepare for sale? Can I help them bid at auction? Can I provide them a CMA on a property they're looking at purchasing? What can I do to build the emotional bank to guarantee me that listing? Hyperlocal prospecting. In my area, there's lots of different little estates. So you've got the Lakewood estate, which was built in the late 70s, early 80s, and there's about 1,200 homes. You've got the Coringal estate, there's 2,000 or 3,000 homes, and they'll build in the 60s. You've got the Marylands estate, there's 1,500 homes in the Marylands estate. What I've done in the database is I've broken down all those different little estates into my database so I can communicate sales results that are hyper-local to them. So I can go into my database at any given time and go, who's in the Lakewood estate on my pipeline, and I can communicate to them with information that is truly relevant to their housing estate and to them. My pipeline. How do I manage my pipeline? Around 35 to 40% of my business is auction. I use EYS Auctions. They're a freelance and auctioneering business in Victoria. They are hands down the best auctioneering business in Victoria. They make us look unbelievable on auction day, so we use that to our advantage. Not only do they make us look great in front of the neighbours that we invite down to our auctions, but we get a videographer out to every single auction, we film that auction, and he cuts it into a 2-minute trailer. We put that trailer on Facebook, we boost it out to the community, we get fantastic engagement and response from that. But what I do is I take it one step further. I'll embed that video into an email, and I'll go into my pipeline, into that estate where the auction was held. I'll build a bit of a case study story around that auction, and I'll send it out to my pipeline so they can engage with that auction and see how good we are on auction day. Case study letter. Each of those zones, we'll look at the best sales result in each of those zones at the end of every single month, and then we'll go and create what I call a case study letter, which has all the information about that result. How many internet inspections, how many private inspections, how many offers were on the property, what the property was listed for, what the property sold for. Every bit of information, we build a bit of a story behind it, and we direct mail that out to our pipeline and 2-month list. We're also phoning through the pipeline every single month with sales results that are relevant to those people. So whether I make a phone call or whether I leave a voicemail, as soon as I hang up the phone, I've got a pre-typed out SMS, and I send that SMS out to that person with a web link to the property. Because what it does is it puts my branding in front of them, but it also helps them engage with the property that I've just spoken about. And I get heaps of texts back saying, thanks very much, really appreciate it. So I'm just trying to add value and give them information that's relevant to their area that they're going to be interested in. The leadership phase. So when I was doing around 5 or 6 sales a month with just one PA, I took the plunge and decided to put on another 2 team members. And I call this the leadership phase because you're now leading a team, and it's a very critical part. So I'd usually say if you're doing 5 or 6 sales a month, your database is maybe at about 1,000 to 1,500 good clean bits of data. Now's a good time to put on another PA or 2. So what does my team look like today? As the lead agent, I do all the hot prospecting. So anyone on that 2-month list, I'm calling all the time. My pipeline, I'll call them also. Out of those 144 properties that I sold, I personally listed every single one and personally negotiated every single sale. I also do all the vendor management. I usually run around 20 to 30 vendors at any given time, and I'm going to do 120 calls a week just to call those vendors 4 times a week to make sure the service is great. And I also do, obviously, the negotiation. My campaign manager, Beck, what she handles is what I call stock in. So I'll give her the listing agreement and she'll do everything to get that property on the market, as I mentioned before. She also does the market, the appraisal research, and all the general admin for the team. Then I've got 2 sales associates and they handle what I call stock out. So as soon as that property's sold, they do all the tasks from under offer to sold and from sold to settlement. And they also do the prospecting to our farm areas. I've got 2 1,000 home farm areas. They do the letterbox drop-in, cold calls. They call through my database, and they also call through the pipeline with updates as well. I'm not going to go through the ideal weeks, but if you email me, I'm more than happy to send the slides through, and you can get a bit more detail on those. Training program for team members. So what I do is I take my sales associates on an 18-month journey. There's a 3-step system that I train them up on, and the 4th step is you're out on your own. So what I do is when I first put on a sales associate, for the first 3 months, all they do is purely prospecting. They don't get to do anything else, and I train them how to prospect effectively. There's 2 reasons for that. The first one is if they can get data and get me indoors, they're going to be a good agent because that's the key skill of a good agent. The second thing is I know I prospect today for the business in 6, 12, 18 months' time. So if they're hardcore prospecting for 3 months straight, 50 hours a week, that's going to supply a steady stream of listings into my business over the next 18 months. Step 2 is the buyer phase. They're usually really excited to get into this phase, and that lasts about 9 months, and that's when I'll teach them everything that it takes to manage buyers. Step 3, after about 12 to 15 months, I'll start taking them out on appraisals with me. I'll teach them how to do appraisals, and then I'll kick them out on their own. And obviously still help and mentor them, but then they're out on their own. So what I've done is I've created a sales training manual with every system, process, script, dialogue, every single thing they need for each stage of the sales process, and I train them weekly. Every single week we catch up, we role play. They don't get to practice on real people until they've run through me and I'm happy with it. Once I'm happy with how they run their scripts and dialogues, then they can obviously go out in the field and practice it on real people. The biggest thing I'd say when you're growing a team is it's not about you. It's actually about your team members. I have a succession plan for my team members to reach their goals, not my goals. So at every stage, everything I do is about training them up, giving them the confidence, giving them the skills, giving everything they need to go out and become a successful salesperson. I'm just a byproduct of my team members' success. Capacity. You might look at this and think, what's a barbecue got to do with capacity? When I was kicked out of school at 15, the first job I got was as a factory hand at a barbecue manufacturer. And it actually taught me a lot about capacity. In this factory, we had stock in, stock out. So the stock would come in the door. That's all our materials. We'd process all those materials, and out the other end would be a barbecue. So the stock would come in, would cut the steel, would fold the steel, would weld the steel, would go off to the electrics department, they'd fit all the motherboards and electrics to the barbecue. Then it would go to the assembly department and they'd assemble the barbecue. Then it would go into packaging and they'd package it up and send it out the door. And what we had was specialists in each of these departments. In each department, there was a system and a process to make sure that was done effectively, not only so that we could produce a large volume of barbecues, but to make sure that the product was, obviously the condition and quality of that product was outstanding. Real estate's not too much different. What it is there's 4 different departments that I've identified to process a sale. And I know there's 100 tasks involved in processing one sale. It takes 17 hours of prospecting to get one listing. And what I've learned is I've broken these tasks down and put them into 4 key departments. And I've put someone in each department that can specialise in those fields. As a salesperson, the problem is we're expected to do everything and we never master any of them. What happens is we've got no stock, so we sit on the phone for 80% of our time trying to drive listings into our business, and what happens is because we over-prospect, we get 4, 5, 6 listings come up, then we go, oh shit, I've got listings, I've got to go into the listed to on the market section of the factory now, and what I've got to do is I've got to get this stock on the market. So we do all those tasks to get it on the market, and there's 46 tasks to get one property on the market. Then what happens is they're on the market, the inquiries start coming in, we spend all of our time running the sales campaign. Meanwhile, we're not prospecting, and the listed to on the market of any other couple of listings that have come up is getting sacrificed. So we run the sales campaign, we make the sales, we get them sold, and as they go into sold to settlement, we go, we'll catch you later, I've got no stock left, I've got to go back to prospecting now. And what happens is we're constantly juggling these 4 departments, and that's why you get ups and downs in your business. So what I've done is broken it down, every single task, and what it's allowed me to do is to visualize them. So I've got what I call my stock in board and my stock out board, and they sit above my desk. I've actually got them on Google spreadsheets now, but this is easy to see. So I've got a stock in board and a stock out board. Beck, my sales PA, my admin PA, she manages all the tasks to get that property on the market, and my 2 sales PAs manage all the tasks to get those properties from basically sold to settlement. So what I can do at any given time is I've got literally thousands of tasks going on with the amount of deals that I process, but what it allows me to do is to look up there at any given time and actually see where every property's at live in the moment. I can see if they're doing the job or if they're not doing the job. So what it allows me to do is it gives me clarity. It actually calms me down. It reduces the stress levels because I can see all the work getting done. And I coach my team members on this. So I meet every single Monday morning. As you can see, we put the dates up when the tasks are due, and we'll sit down, we'll identify all the tasks that are due this week. They'll write them out in their diaries, and then we'll catch up midweek, and I'll review those tasks to make sure they've been done and set a bit of an action plan for the rest of the week. So twice a week, I'm checking in to make sure all the little stuff is done, because this is where the customer experience comes from. Systems create capacity. So I stand here and I say I'm referring to a barbecue manufacturing company. There's obviously, I'm not processing it like that. But what it is systems create capacity, yes, but they improve the customer experience. If you're juggling these 4 departments and you're running off to this one and you're dropping this one, well, that customer's not getting looked after. I know I could list 7 properties right now and they'd flow through my business perfectly without any blockages. So not only do they create capacity, but they improve client experience. Right now, I'm currently number 2 in Australia for customer satisfaction with the Ray White Group. And you'd think running this many sales that the service would drop off. It doesn't. It actually gets better if you've got a good process there. Now, I'm not the best lister in my marketplace. My marketplace is full of some great agents. There's some awesome agents in my marketplace, and I'm definitely not the best lister. I lose heaps of business, guys. But the big thing I'll say is I'll always be number 1. The reason why is because of this. I out-prospect my competition. My team every single week makes 750 phone calls. So I do 100 pipeline 2-month list calls. I go to about 100 vendor calls a week to call my vendors 4 times a week and provide a great service. Might make 50 buyer calls. And then my team are doing the rest. So we make 39,000 calls per annum. You'll never list more properties than me if you're not doing that number of calls. So that's why I'm standing here today, is because of the prospecting we do. Nothing will beat picking up the phone, building a relationship with someone. So I totally agree on what Josh went through this morning with Facebook and social media. Unbelievable. And that's something I definitely want to implement into my business. But I suppose I'm a little bit more from the old school of picking up the phone and driving the listings into my business. I wanted to finish with the best piece of advice I've ever been given in my career, and it came from my stepdad the first day I entered the industry. He just said to me, Ash, just tell the truth, do the right thing, and genuinely look after people. If you do that, you'll become a magnet in the marketplace and people will be naturally attracted to you. I just wanted to say a huge thanks to John. You've been an amazing mentor. Thanks for teaching me everything you know. To my mum, your words make me feel like I can achieve anything. Thank you. My dad, thanks for always challenging me. And to my wife, Thanks for all the sacrifices you make to allow me to do what I do. You're absolutely amazing. Thanks very much, guys.